Corn is found in food products everywhere, even unexpected ones. There was once a time where the only foods corn were found in were ones that explicitly said so, like in this commercial. This Kellogg's commercial is from 1977, only 37 years ago, yet the corn industry has changed remarkably since that time, and I'd like to show you how. First, I'll show you how corn is found in 25% of the products found in our grocery stores today, particularly the highly processed food items. Then I'll show you how all this corn in our diet affects our health. And lastly, I'll tell you how the amount of corn in processed foods also contributes negatively to the environment of the United States. So first, let's look at where corn is found in food products and where it comes from. The United States is the world's largest producer and exporter of corn, producing over 330 tons annually. So where does this corn go? The United States Department of Agriculture divides corn usage into three main groups. I went ahead and calculated the percents based on this chart. 43% of corn goes to human food use, in the blue. With the yellow, you can see that 38% of corn goes to fuel uses, and in the red, 19% of corn is used as feeder corn for animals. We will focus mainly on the 43% that we consume. In his book, The Omnivore's Dilemma, Michael Pollan explains that corn is literally everywhere, even in foods that seem like there would be no chance of corn. The obvious are products that explicitly contain corn, like cornbread and the cornflakes in the commercial. Then there are foods that take a little more imagination to imagine corn as an ingredient in them, like soups, cake mixes, frosting, gravy, even frozen waffles. But it gets even weirder. Corn is found in coffee creamer, Cheese Whiz, frozen yogurt, canned fruits, ketchups, candy, mustard, bologna, margarine, even your vitamins. These are found in cornstarch and leavenings, colorings, acids for freshness, glucose syrup, maltodextrin, crystalline for lecithin, dextrose, lysine, and countless other lab-made chemicals that we consume daily. My family jokes that if you can't pronounce it, there's a good chance that it contains some corn. Now that you've seen where corn comes from, where it is found, and how it is used, I would like to show you the corn's effect on your body. According to Todd Dawson, a biologist at the University of California, Berkeley, corn accounts for 69% of the average American's carbohydrate intake, and the majority of these come from high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is glucose that has been converted to fructose by adding an enzyme. This creates a sweet, gooey syrup that is cheap and easy to produce. A study by Princeton University, published in Pharmacology, Biochemistry, and Behavior, states that high fructose corn syrup can account for as much as 40% of caloric sweeteners used in the United States, and that high fructose corn syrup can increase body weight. High fructose corn syrup is found in soft drinks, baked goods, cereals, breads, canned fruits, jams and jellies, desserts, and fruit juices. In 2012, the FDA was asked to take action to protect the public from the illegal mislabeled use of high fructose corn syrup that is above 55% fructose. Though this act did not come through, it began to raise awareness that high fructose corn syrup may not be as sweet as we once thought it was. We are all familiar with the fact that plants use carbon for energy, and we know that when plants are eaten as carbohydrates, that carbon also appears in our cells. Most plants contain multiple isotopes of carbon, mainly carbon-12 and carbon-13. However, corn plants are composed of more carbon-13 than any other plant. As humans eat more corn, we also consume more of this specific carbon-13. Over time, human cells have changed, and now under a microscope, experts like Dawson can see that Americans are eating more corn than ever before, enough to actually change the makeup of our cells. Now that we've seen the effects on the body, let's look at the effects on the earth. The immense use of corn in processed goods is used in the United States means that more and more natural and locally produced foods are being replaced with mass-produced processed goods, which has a negative effect on the environment. As Stephen Hopp, a professor of environmental studies at Emory and Henry College, writes that each food item in a typical U.S. meal has traveled an average of 1,500 miles. This is about the distance from Louisville to Jamaica. In addition to direct transport, other fuel-thirsty steps include processing, packaging, warehousing, and refrigeration. All these steps are used in the processing of corn in thousands of products that contain it. Hobbs also shares that each United States citizen consumes about 400 gallons of oil per year, just from these agricultural uses. 1/5 is the actual farming. The rest is used in the processing and transportation processes. This greatly increases the United States' carbon footprint, and thus our future environment. Corn is the majority plant in much of the United States, grown in 40 states and covering 80 million acres of land. This is a little more than if we planted corn on every acre of Germany. This means that over 80 acres of American soil is also covered in fertilizers and pesticides. Though the Environmental Protection Agency has cracked down in recent years, growers still rely on pesticides to produce the best crop, despite environmental concerns. Currently, seed treatments to keep bugs from eating corn are also killing honeybees and a few species of beneficial beetles. The toxins travel through the soil and air to other plants, and the insects feed on them. Whole Foods states that 1 of every 3 bites of American food comes from plants pollinated by honeybees and other pollinators. So to put it simply, the pesticides used to help create one food item are killing the organisms that produce 1/3 of the other food we eat. So let's wrap up. We have talked a little bit about the corn production within the United States and about what foods corn is found in, which is probably way more than you expected. We discussed the effect of some of these corn products on the human body, whether external or internal. Lastly, we talked about corn usage's negative effect on our planet. Hopefully what you've learned is that corn plays an important role in our daily life and will continue to do so for years to come. Thank you.
Wrong, wrong, wrong. We as a society view all of these things as something illegal, and that shouldn't be allowed. But interest is sparked by certain professionals in the medical field as those from certain clothing companies to derive from materials through the same plant. I want to first talk to you about the legalization of marijuana. And for a medicinal use, 20 states altogether have legalized it in a medicinal way, while 2 have done it recreationally. Currently, updated as of this morning from ProCon, a medicinal marijuana site, 15 states have a pending legislation submitted to the House or Senate, while 3 states have failed to their bill that they have presented. One of them being Georgia, because they said that their laws would be too restrictive from what's already in place to what states that have already legalized it. Mississippi was said to have the same reasons of which they cannot medicinalize it. Nebraska, however, is different. They said that the hemp oil that they were trying to legalize was only supposed to be used for epilepsy patients and that no one else could benefit from it. CNN Money has stated that there is nearly $1 billion that medical marijuana has boosted to, and nearly 6,000 shares are open for buying. Shares go for around $66 a piece and have been grabbing up fast. All right. According to cannabismed.org, medical marijuana can treat anything from cancer to depression or help with some of the symptoms. It makes people feel better about themselves and less stressed about activities, which can lead mainly from depression. Cancer patients have seen improvement in their diet as well as trying to improve different functions of everyday life. It's also been used to treat epilepsy in patients with chronic seizures, as well as bursitis, which is chronic itching of the body. It says to soothe the skin and to relocate, to redo everything, make the patient feel renewed. Through not necessarily personal experience, but there have been studies just shown that osteoporosis has been able to reverse necessarily time in aging women and men. Medical marijuana has also showed improvements in spinal cord injuries from dealing with paralysis, as well as symptoms of MS or multiple sclerosis. Moving into two major uses of cannabis is hemp, which is used mainly for industrial uses, food, paper products, body care products, building materials, and many other things. So hemp it comes from the same plant that we classify marijuana with, but necessarily it's not a bad thing. We use it to make things that we use in everyday life. It also only contains 0.3% to 1.5% of the tetrahydral cannabinol, which is the THC. Hemp is used to make biodegradable products so it doesn't harm our environment, as well as ropes and fibers or clothing materials to people for wearing. Marijuana, which just comes from a different strand of cannabis, it can be used recreationally, which is what we frown upon, but it has also been used spiritually. Hindus are one of the major religions that use marijuana in their rituals and services that they do regularly. Dating back, Christianity and Judaism used marijuana and different forms of cannabis, and what they use is holy anointing oil. So something that we frown upon so much today is looked on by religious people and frowned upon, and we actually used it back many years ago. Marijuana does have some side effects, though. It can link to schizophrenia, which are different changes in the brain. It creates more air pockets, as well as different spaces between the cortexes. The receptors for cannabis, or the cannabinoid, are CB1 is the main one, and is affected mainly by marijuana when you inject it into your body through smoke or other forms. When it irritates, it lets the body feel your high sensation or more relaxed. But this can have a wear and tear on your body and eventually corrupt it and make you seem delusional or go into more of a psychotic state, linking to schizophrenia. Now, marijuana was first made illegal, dating back because it made a white woman want to be with a black male, because the black male took a white woman off and got her high and then seduced her, when all reality there was the black man got charged, and they said that marijuana was the main cause in which the seduction occurred, instead of other drugs that were in her system. Oops. In conclusion, marijuana isn't necessarily a bad thing. We use it for spiritual uses, as well as clothing and recreational use as well. So something that's frowned upon by everyone is becoming something that's legal across the United States. Though some are denying it, others are making it legal. So is it something that's necessarily bad, or something that can be beneficial to the economy as well as the world?